Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Unreal Engine 4 survival horror game series. And in today's video, I pretty much want to finish off the door system for our survival mansion. So over the past few videos, I've been creating a door system where the player can walk up to it with the key in the inventory and it will open up. And pretty much what I want to do today is pretty much have this little pop-up come onto the screen if the player does not have the key in their inventory. So as of right now, when you walk up to the door, without the key in your inventory, it's just going to stay closed. It's not going to do anything. There is absolutely no script to it at all. So what I want to do basically is take this little pop-up from the Photoshop document that I've got here, bring it into the game and make it flash onto the player's screen if he walks up to the door and he does not have the key. So one thing I do want to mention before we do go any further is the download link for the the key icon, the Photoshop document. Once again, the project files are all in the description down below, so make sure you go ahead and download that. So if you want to go ahead and export that out, all you got to do is quickly select the little key icon. Don't worry about the text for now when exporting that out, because we can create that inside of Unreal Engine. So grab the little key icon with the selection tool, make sure the key icon is selected, press Ctrl C to copy it, go to File, New, and then just create a new document. It should adjust it accordingly with the height of whatever you've got selected. 48 by 49 should be fine. Copy, just paste it in, Ctrl V. Delete the background layer and then make this whatever color you want. For me, I'm going to make sure this is in white, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to color overlay and chuck it in white, just like that. Once we have done that, I'm going to proceed to go to file and just save it out as a PNG. Now you can call this whatever you like. For me, I'm just going to call this key UI icon. You can see I've got it there over already. So once you download the latest version of the project files for the the heads up display, you'll find it all in there. Anyway, next thing, Unreal Engine. Let's get that open and let's import it in. So I'm going to go into my textures folder, and I am going to just drag and drop that little key icon into my content browser. So find wherever it is on your computer. So for me, that's just going to be my survival game folder and key UI icon, and I'm just going to click and drag and drop, and that is literally all I need to do. Once I've done that, we need to go ahead and create a UI widget, and what that UI widget is pretty much going to do is allow us to set up the user interface side of things for our little pop-up in the same way we have done for our heads up display and the objective complete pop-up and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to user interface, widget blueprint, name this whatever you want. I'm just going to call this no door key for now. Gonna open it up, and all we gotta do is just go ahead and chuck that little icon in there and add the text, and then we can start to animate it. So first thing we're gonna do, image, and down where brush is, you might have to expand that out, and I'm gonna go ahead and press this. I'm just gonna type in key and find the right texture for it. There you are, and now just place this wherever you want. So if I recall, it was nice and small, roughly in the center of our screen, and then we also had some text to it. So just go ahead and drag out a text block, put whatever you want in here. For me, this is going to be find the key to open the door, and just go ahead and make sure that you've made that long enough. Play around with the colors, do all the stuff that you need to do. For me, this was sort of like an orangey sort of color, so I'm going to go ahead and chuck it like that. And then the font was Feast of Flesh. If you haven't got that, you can also download that in the description below and chuck that in just like that. So I believe it was roughly centered around there. So now I just need to move my icon. So go ahead and do that. There you are. So I'd say that's roughly centered. Next thing that I'm going to do then is I am going to create an animation for this. So instead of it just coming onto the screen being static and just looking downright weird, I am going to set it up with a little animation so it flashes on the screen twice. It's nice and simple to do. So if you've set up any UI animations where you want fading and that kind of stuff, make sure you set your opacity down to 0 in color and opacity so that you can actually fade it on and it doesn't stay at one full opacity when you start. So go ahead and select whichever one you want to animate first. For me, I'm going to do the key icon. I'm going to add animation, call this whatever you like. I'm going to call this key flash. Once you've done that, click the animation, with this selected, go ahead and press add, and then add in the image, whatever it's called, and then from here we can create a color and opacity track. So by default, make sure your first keyframe here is set to 0 for opacity, and then after a second we're going to go over here, we're going to press the little add new key at current time, and we're going to change the opacity to 1 here. So if we go back, let's just see how that looks. So you can sort of see it flashes on there and it looks quite nice. Once again we're going to go to 2, and we are simply going to set the opacity down to 0. You can add all the other keyframes if you really want to, but for now I don't think it's really going to be needed. So we've got it down to 0 here, and then we are going to set this to 1 for the second flash, and then the third bit, or the last bit, is just going to be going back down to 0. So let's go ahead and see exactly how that looks. So I'm going to grab my little keyframe thing, go back to the beginning, press play, and you can see it's flashing on the screen there, and it looks quite nice. Now all we have to do is pretty much exactly the same thing with the text. Get that, add a track, color and opacity once again, scroll down, make this bigger if you need to. It's quite easy to make it bigger, just drag that up, and then with your little your little timing thing, just go ahead and get your opacity at the beginning. Make sure that's set to 0. Set the keyframes. 1 second, we are going to set that to 1. Set it to 0 down here, and 1 again all the way over here. And then the last keyframe, just make sure that is set to 0 as well. So let's just go ahead and see exactly how this is going to look for us now. So go ahead and press play. You can see it's flashing onto the screen and it looks really, really nice. So that is great. One other thing that we need to do inside of this widget before we go any further is we actually need to tell it to play the animation when it first starts. So just go ahead and drag off this and just type in play animation, and then we put that there. Get a reference to key flash, and then just hook that up to animation there. And that should do everything that we need. So I'm going to go ahead and compile that, and now let's actually hook it up to our door system. So if you remember, our door system is all contained within the level blueprint. Open that up, make sure we're not confusing it with the fire stuff, and we just need to go to our little check where, you know, if you remember, we created the branch with the condition to check to see whether or not the player has the key. We've got true over here, and that's hooked up to, you know, to open the door, and then false, it's got nothing in there at the moment. So let's go ahead and create the widget that actually displays it on the screen. So type in just create widget, under class, just type in your key, no door key, and that was it. And there's one last thing that we need to do. We need to make sure that we add it to the viewport, and hopefully this should work for us. So I'm going to compile that, and I'm going to go ahead and press play. And I'm going to run over to the door, making sure that I haven't got the key in my inventory, and I'm going to see what happens next. So it's a long way over to the door, don't worry about that. So let's walk up to this, and hopefully it should flash for us. So find the key to open the door. That is working perfectly fine. Flashes twice, and then it just disappears. Let's try that again. That's working great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run up to it again with the key in my inventory, and just to double check that it's not opening the door. Now with logic it shouldn't open the door, but sometimes there is issues, and that is simply just programming. But I'm going to run over to the door and see if we can still open it just fine. There you are, the door is opening, and that is working perfectly fine. So that is pretty much everything that I wanted to go over in this video. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Make sure you share the love, share the video, and yeah, keep on creating, guys.